Let's talk about SiBo. Who is SiBo? What is SiBo? Why is it important to talk about it? SiBo is a very complex issue. It's a small intestine bacterial overgrowth. It's a concept. It means that the bacteria in our small intestine are too many to count, and they infect our intestine to a degree to which it becomes unhealthy and unsustainable. The small intestine is actually not a small organ in our body. It's a very large organ compared to other organs. It's in our belly, and if it's infected, we have problems with it. This issue will affect almost any human on our planet who is consuming food and has lived a long enough life to get a small intestine bloating or infection. The bacterial imbalance in our gut is the result for the issue that is the SiBo. When our intestine and our gut is involved, when it is affected or infected, then the whole of our body can suffer. There can be various symptoms and various results from this infection or imbalance. The situation is that our health is directly related to the health of our gut. SiBo is a complex issue. It has many different causes and many different origins. One of the major causes is overeating, is putting too much food in our system, putting too much food in our gut. We all suffer from this in our life because we like food. There is so much tasty and very nice food on our planet that it's very simple and very easy to overeat. Another issue or another source of SiBo, the small intestine bacterial overgrowth, could be that we eat too many bacteria that are very dominant in our intestine. In this case, the fermented foods or the bacteria that are just naturally more competitive than others, and our body doesn't respond well to them. For example, if some people eat fermented cabbage to a degree that is maybe half a kilo per day, then the bacteria that ferments this cabbage in our gut will certainly dominate the ecosystem of the bacteria in our belly, which would result in the overpopulation of this kind of bacteria. And the gut and the body, they don't like overpopulation and don't tolerate well imbalances. In this case, it would be very easy to heal. Just remove this one food from the diet and the problem is solved. SiBo is a very complex issue because it's a symptomatic issue, it's a systemic issue, it's a personality issue. It's very hard to stop overeating. It's one of the hardest things because food is like a natural stimulation for us. More than anything else, we are programmed to like what we eat. We are programmed to, because we are constantly rewarded every day from our life. We are rewarded to eat the things that we naturally like to eat, apart from the people who have an eating disorder when they don't eat for emotional reasons. The rest of us is pretty much very connected and emotionally dependent on eating the foods that we like. This dependence or this maybe unhealthy relationship to the food can create a situation when we eat more than it is sustainable for us for a very long period of time, maybe for half a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, for 10 years, for the whole entire life. If you have SiBo, if you know SiBo, you are probably landed in this audio, video or presentation, wherever you find this. By the way, this is done by ipsos.de for the presentation how to cure the SiBo. The state of the SiBo is that we have too much of the bacteria and our gut is damaged. There are different strategies and very nice strategies to cure this complex SiBo issue. There is no one thing that can cure it. It has to be a multiple combination because difficult solutions require difficult problems, or better said, difficult problems require multi-layer solutions. And SiBo is one of those things. The strategies can be complex and there can be multiple layers of the strategies to cure SiBo. One very important thing is algae. The dietary algae can cure SiBo. It's very curious. If you look around, the doctors at the moment is 2020, 2019, 2018, 2021. In this range, the human doctors for the human health, they don't talk about the algae if you listen to them. Some of them do, they do research, But the animal doctors that cure the animals all the time, they use algae to cure SiBo in animals, because for the animals, like for the horse or the cow, if the horse or the cow has SiBo, the bacterial overgrowth, it bloats and it can be very dangerous. The cow can actually have a little result from this bloating. When a human has a bloating, it's not as dangerous, so maybe that's why the animal doctors are a little bit more educated about the SiBo. The best cure for the animals in this case, and humans, because we are also animals, let's not assume that we are something more better, that because we have like a language or a capacity to think 10 times better. Our gut is still the same basic gut as the animal gut. And the cow, for example, it has a very complex gut and has stomachs, 4 stomachs or many tracts, and when it's affected to SiBo, the animal doctors, they give supplements in the form of small supplements as algae. The algae are a supplement to regular food, to normal food, are for some reason able to cure the SiBo in human and in cow or horse. The way it works, it can be explained on multiple levels. Algae, in this case, I would suggest the particular algae, because they're available for humans also, the spirulina powder, the chlorella powder, and maybe a little bit of nori, which is used as a supplement for sporty people who like to grow muscles. So we can find this in the organic section of the large supermarket or in the healthy sports shops for the healthy sports people. It's not a very difficult product to find. It's just sometimes it's called detox, anti-tox powder, sometimes it's called magnesium supplements, sometimes it's called green algae power or something like that. One layer could be that there's a lot of probiotic bacteria in the algae, and the algae are able to survive the harsh conditions of the stomach, the acidity, because they naturally grow in the sea where it's very salty. So the probiotic bacteria from the algae are able to survive the stomach and transit to the small intestine, to the upper levels of the intestine, and survive there and create a little bit of more balance between the bacteria that are living there. They can reduce the imbalances by creating a new state of things, a little bit of more competition. The algae require light, so when there is no light, they will not suddenly grow in the belly. So it's always this solution that will resolve itself. If there is too much overgrowth from the bacteria that is on the algae, they will always eliminate themselves because there is no sunshine in the gut. In the short term, they can create a good solution for the complex issue of SiBo. For example, the people, when one has a bloating or when it's upset digestive system, people suggest, oh, maybe yogurt. It has a lot of probiotic bacteria or fermented milk. Let's drink that and then hope that the bloating and the bacterial overgrowth in our gut will be resolved with these probiotics. The issue is that the yogurt or the milk, the bacteria in them, they are not used to the very harsh saline conditions or the conditions in the stomach of the human, so they probably won't even survive. Another issue with those bacteria is that there's only one type of bacteria that is in the yogurt, the probiotic one, and then one type of bacteria can always create the dominance and create more bloating when our digestive system is already bloated. In this case, the probiotic bacteria are superior from the algae, even more superior maybe than the probiotic bacteria from the salad leaves that have a little bit of probiotic from the natural sources, from nature, if they are not treated with pesticides. Another layer why the algae work, because algae have a lot of iron, magnesium, sometimes zinc, and the magnesium and iron, they'll help the body to repair itself. So we get more magnesium into our body, it starts to repair itself, it starts to repair the gut. One issue with the SiBo, or maybe one very important, that the gut will get damaged. The surface of the gut is like a surface of short wet hair. If one would describe it, it's like a wet and short hair. This is the surface of the gut. And when it is damaged, it's damaged on multiple levels. When there is like a breakdown of the surface, suddenly it starts to be leaky and the gut doesn't like anything. It doesn't like proteins that are external to the body, it doesn't like spices, it doesn't like oil, it doesn't like meat, doesn't like eggs, doesn't like milk, doesn't like bread. It starts to be very moody. And when we heal this damaged surface and damaged area of the gut, it suddenly starts to become more tolerable to the foods that create allergies in us. In this case, the minerals like the magnesium and the iron and a little bit of zinc from the algae are actually very good for supporting this process of healing, apart from the probiotic bacteria that are in the algae. So this is one thing that even the current modern and very educated doctors don't talk about. Another very fantastic and very mathematical and like a logical strategy for curing SIBO is to restrict the time that our gut is working. When our gut is not working, it's relaxing. When it's relaxing, it is repairing itself. So we have to give it a little bit more time to repair itself and to heal itself. The day has 24 hours. Let's assume we want to give 16 hours of resting and recovery for our gut. 24 minus 16 would be 8. Let's say we use our gut and we use it for digestion for 8 hours. Which would mean that we only eat within 8 hours of the day, and the rest of the day we don't drink anything that requires digestion or that is very difficult to digest. We don't eat anything, nothing solid, nothing liquid, no milk, no alcohol, no cacao, no coffee, just maybe water or very mild chamomile tea. So we give the gut 16 hours of recovery per day. This is called intermittent fasting or short-term fasting, which is done usually during sleep and some parts of the day. Let's say we start to eat at 12 and finish to eat at 8. So one meal around 12 and one meal around 6 or 7 or maximum 8. Then after 8 we have 4 hours to the 12, which will 4. And then another 12 hours in the night and the morning, which will 4 plus 12, which will be 16. So we get 16 hours of resting and recovery for the gut. It's a very logical and mathematical strategy, and it can work also, apart from all the other things that one can do for the cure for the SIBO. Probiotics can be very good for healing the SIBO because the bacteria that dominate the gut, they are overpopulating the gut and they are creating the issues exactly not by the overpopulation but by being in the parts of the gut that are affected, that are damaged on the surface. Overeating is the issue for the SIBO, and when there is patches of food constantly sticky or lying around the gut and then the bacteria grow on them, they start to infect the area and they start to enter the barrier between the gut and the body, and then this body starts to respond, to get irritated, to get inflamed, to protect itself. So it's always fighting with itself and the bacteria. When we introduce some different new bacteria, they will start to compete with the ones that we already have in the gut. So when we introduce competition, the idea is that we maybe reduce the one dominant bacteria and it will just let us be and will give us a little bit of room to heal ourselves. Don't be so dominant. In this case, many people try the yogurts, the probiotic yogurts that are a little bit more complex, not just the one type of bacteria in the yogurt, but many different ones. Could be kefir. Kefir has families of bacteria that live together in crystals. The kefir is very good. The issue with this strategy could be that there is a milk protein in those yogurts. If there is a milk protein and the gut is damaged, then this milk protein will leak into the wall of the gut and into the blood, and when it's in the blood, the body says, oh, I found some external protein, let's fight. And then it starts with this fight with this protein, and when there is a fight, there is inflammation, irritation. So even if we take these probiotics that contain from the milk sources, then it could be an issue. A solution to this would be to drink the kefir that is not based on milk. It could be based on, there is water kefir. The problem with this is it's too acidic, so don't drink too much of it. But the whole strategy of the probiotic is also a good layer of this. It could be a good layer in addition to others, to algae, to the restricted eating. So some probiotics, if you are milk intolerant and if you get bloating from this, probably not a good solution for you in particular, as for the 40% of the people on our planet. And when we age, we start to tolerate milk a little bit less and less and less. For older people, they don't tolerate milk as well as the young people for natural reasons. So it might be only a solution for the younger people who can still tolerate milk. On the other hand, it also could be a good strategy to avoid excessive bacteria from fermented foods. Instead of eating the yogurt or the fermented foods, it could be very good to just eat the cooked, boiled or steam cooked foods that don't contain any bacteria, because we want to reduce the amount of the bacteria in our gut. So we just eat the very light foods like vegetables, soft vegetables that were softened on the steam during the cooking. We eat it. They are clean and pure without any bacteria. They flush out the bacteria in our gut. They roll down and our gut is clean once again. There is no bacterial overgrowth. This could be even one better strategy for the very infected and very irritated guts. Not to try to populate the gut with more bacteria, but try to just to reduce the amount of bacteria that is already there. And later on populate it with maybe yogurt when it starts to be a little bit better. But don't eat the yogurt every day, because if we eat something every day of our life, apart from water, it's probably not a good thing. We have to bring out the trash sometimes, and we have to clean up the house. And in order to clean the house, we just don't eat, or we rotate our food so that we don't consume the same things every day. In addition of eating the algae and the probiotics and giving the time for our gut to repair itself, to digest, there is also one strategy of not eating what is causing the irritation in the body. Those are the very common things, like some people, or maybe most of us even, when our gut is damaged, we naturally develop this resistance to the foreign proteins in our body. It could be gluten, milk, egg protein, it could be even meat for some people, it could be pea protein even, it could be protein from undercooked lentils or from undercooked beans. The logic by which it works is that the surface of the gut is damaged. When the protein from the food sources is entering the wall of the gut, of our digestive system, of our small intestine, then it's entering the blood, and then the defensive immune system starts to react to this protein, and we naturally develop an allergy to this protein. So we become allergic to the food that contains this protein. This is why the people with the damaged gut and with SiBo can start to develop food allergies. By avoiding the foods that create food allergies in us, we can help our gut and we can help our body to heal itself. And later on when it's healed, we can take the same foods that we were allergic before, we can eat them, and there is no issue, because our gut is healed and it doesn't leak the proteins from this food into our blood. So we become suddenly healed from the allergy also included. So one very important part of the strategies to heal the SiBo is to remove the foods from the diet that cause our irritation. And there are very basic ones that are known in the Chinese medicine, in the Western medicine, in the Ayurveda from India. Is once again, the most common one is milk, second common is gluten, which is in all wheat bread and pasta and all the kind of stuff. One can replace the bread and the gluten with corn and rice. Then the egg, some people develop allergies to egg protein. Some people develop allergies to meat even, like to red meat. They cannot digest it when their gut is damaged. So some people develop allergies to fermented milk. Some people can take milk that is cooked because the protein is broken down. But it's usually good to restrict and remove those foods for 1 week maybe and see what happens, and then continue as long as one is liking this. It's not based on any like religious or spiritual, it's just based on logic. Don't eat what irritates you. Removing the irritation from our diet is a very good thing. We can remove, for example, too many harsh spices, because harsh spices activate our gut to be more alert, to be more like efficient, or to be more stressed. And if our gut is damaged, if we have SiBo, if we have bloating, if we have like damage on the surface of the gut, if we have leaky gut, then we cannot take too many spices, because it will increase the efficiency of the damage. The same is for coffee, because coffee is a very good stimulation for the gut or for the body. If we drink coffee, then the gut suddenly starts to work, it starts to be more like athletic, and then we have damage on the surface or from the bacterial overgrowth, and then it suddenly starts to move faster, it starts to digest faster, and then our damage on the surface will be more affected if we overstimulate the gut with coffee or with spices or with other types of stimulants. So avoid stimulants if you have bloated or, let's say, irritated gut. One very logical and very good strategy is to just apply math. Okay, if we are overeating and if overeating is causing the SiBo and the bloating in our gut and the damage to our body, then why we don't just eat a little bit less? It sounds so easy but difficult to do. It's difficult for everybody because we like food. One very good strategy that works is to find a smaller plate that looks good, that looks more appealing during the food, but in size it's smaller. So instead of eating on the old larger plate, just find one that is good and convenient and eat in a smaller one. And when we eat just one smaller one and then 1.5 of the smaller ones or just 2 the small ones, and they say, okay, we ate 2 and that's it. Eat slowly, look at the food, enjoy the food, just taste it, don't look at the screen, eat consciously and eat in the smaller plate, and then the body or the mind or the tongue or the soul will get satisfied with the smaller amount because we eat more consciously but in the smaller plate. It's a good trick that works. So because we visually see the plate is full, even though it's a smaller plate, it seems to be full. So we say to ourselves, oh, I just finished this one plate and it's already full. It means I ate the amount that I was supposed to eat. If the plate is very large, and then we say, oh, there is like only half of the plate is full, but it's maybe 3 times larger than the smaller plate, and then we eat more than we should have eaten. So the smaller plates, they are a good tool to have a systematic approach to kill the SiBo and bloating and the damaged guts. It's a very good tool to use in this situation. Okay, let's say we follow all the strategies. We put a little bit like half a spoon. By the way, half a spoon of algae on regular food is good enough. It doesn't mean to be that we have to eat many grams of food of algae as food. No, it's just a little bit of algae on top of the regular food. There is no need to be any particular about it to eat a lot of it. Just maybe 15 grams it says on the package, but in reality it could be just a teaspoon per day. That's it. After we ate and after we have our strategies, we restrict our time of eating. One very good strategy is just to physically clean the gut from the inside. And cleaning the gut from the inside is very easy to do when we flush and clean the gut with tea. In this case, the chamomile tea is a very relaxing tea in the combination with anise or mint, a little bit maybe of honey if one is addicted to sugar, like 1/3 of the spoon of honey. And when we finish eating, from the time that we finish eating for the day and don't eat anything else, to the time to the sleep, maybe those 3 hours, 2 or 3 cups of chamomile tea, the relaxing tea, any relaxing tea that helps us to physically clean the surface of the gut and the stomach and the throat. It's a very physical approach to cleaning the gut from the overgrowth of bacteria. It's one also of the very best ones because the chamomile relaxes the gut and the tea cleans it in the same time. So it's one very good strategy before sleep or in the end of the day when we stop eating and when we don't eat at all. Also, when we wake up, maybe 1 cup of water and then a little bit more, like half a cup or 1 cup half an hour or 1 hour later. This also helps to physically clean and prepare the gut for the upcoming meal that we are going to eat around 12 or around noon and start our eating phase of the day. So physically cleaning the gut from the inside with tea or water is a very good strategy. If we drink like something like the sticky foods like milk protein is actually very sticky and the surface of the gut is like wet hair. So if we drink sugar drinks or the milk is very sticky on hair. So if we drink milk, it's gonna create the patches of, let's say, dirty surface on the gut and the bacteria is going to grow there. If you drink sugary sticky drinks from the processed sugar, then there is going to be sticky surfaces of the gut where the bacteria can grow. The best thing in this case is to avoid all the sticky foods that are sticky in the mouth, sticky outside, so that we don't create the sticky surfaces where the bacteria can attach themselves and grow in our gut. So this is why we can only restrict this to water or tea that is relaxing and non-sticky. So sugary drinks are unfortunately not possible in the case of SiBo. Better to avoid them outside of the eating window, outside of the eating time of the day. During the eating time of the day, one can enjoy all of them as long as it doesn't create any extra bloating. And outside of the eating time of the day, it's better to just only drink water and maybe very, very relaxing and soft mild tea. Which is not concentrated and doesn't activate the gut, so it doesn't work. It just works to heal itself during that time. So avoid sticky food and clean it with water or tea during the time of the day when we don't eat. Evening, night and morning. One thing also that the marketing and the media strategists, when they started to produce the processed food in the past, they started to make this advertisement that a healthy body does require 3 meals a day, and then later they say 5 meals a day is okay, and then they say breakfast is the most important time of the day, and then they sell cereals and corn sugars with corn for the breakfast and milk for the breakfast, and the milk industry says okay, milk is a very important source of calcium, but in reality the cabbage has more calcium than milk. And then they say cheese, eat cheese, we need to eat cheese for the calcium. And then in reality cabbage or some these very strong vegetables, they have more calcium in their cells than milk and cheese. So it's all these all advertisements and this all like this calcium, eat this much is all false advertisement which create the problem of the SIBO in our society. In reality our body needs to eat during the phases that we need to eat. We don't have to eat all the time and to eat too much. We have a small window of eating, and this window can be set, so we cannot have an extended window of eating. So the advertisement tells us that we have to wake up, we eat our breakfast, take lunch, and then let's have dinner, and then before sleeping, which would mean that all the day we are eating without stopping. So don't listen to this advertisement. And the meat industry will tell you, and the sports bodybuilder will tell protein, we have to eat protein. And if you look at the science, there is only 12% of the protein in the meat, and in the lentils or the beans there is 22, so there is like more. And then they say, eat oil, keto diet, eat oil, we have to eat oil, stop eating sugar, eat oil, eat more oil. And then if you look at the suggestion from the WHO, we have only to eat like 50 grams of oil per day for an adult. For a child is 25 grams of sugar for an adult. For the kid is maybe 12, 16, 14. And then of the protein also just 55 grams. It does mean that we have to eat like a half of the cow every day. We have to take breaks from protein, we have to take breaks from oil, we have to take breaks from sugar. And another days, maybe 1 or 2 days per week, we have to eat a little bit more protein, a little bit more oil. And the rest of the days in the week we don't do this. So the body has to clean itself of the excess that we have. The same is for the bacteria that are in the gut. If we eat too much oil constantly on the daily basis throughout our diet for many years, then the bacteria that feed on the oil, also viruses. The viruses, they love oil and sugar. They infect them, they eat them, and because the nerves, they consist of fat a little bit, or the brain consists of 60% of fat. So the viruses, they like oil in our diet. So if we reduce the oil, it can also heal from the viral infections. And there are also bacteria that love protein, they love meat, they just like it. There are other bacteria that like sugar, they love it. So we don't have to actually consume meat, oil or protein every day. We can have days, like 3 days, 5 days, extremely 1 week, 2 weeks. 2 weeks a little bit too much, maybe 1 week without any sugar and then see what happens, no? Or 1 week without oil, or 1 week without protein, or 5 days without protein, and then the weekend you eat like maybe 100 grams of protein per day, which is an excess. Or just stick to the recommendation of the WHO. WHO is the organization of doctors worldwide. They work with patients all the time, and they actually are educated, and they have their voting, democracy, and then they provide these recommendations, and they suggest 50 grams of protein for an adult, 50 grams of fats, saturated, non-saturated, 25 grams of sugars. That's it, not more. The problem is that almost every one of us is overeating on those. And that's why we have SIBO, overeating and bloating in our societies. So the major problem on our planet is not the starvation, it's eating too much. It's funny, but that's like it. That is why we are talking about SIBO, and why it is an issue that will affect everybody on our planet during the lifetime. of each individual person. One very good strategy to cure the digestive problems and the gut symptoms is just to understand and cook the food yourself. Cooking is like taking control of your body, of your life. When we eat the processed food, we often don't know what's inside. Let's say we have a temporary issue of the gluten when our gut is irritated and we suddenly become very allergic to gluten for the time that our gut is damaged. So we want to reduce gluten in our diet, or we want to reduce milk protein in our diet, or we want to reduce sugar or excess salt. When we eat the processed food from the restaurants, food from the packages that is prepared for us, we cannot control the ingredients. So there could be some ingredients that irritate our body, our gut, and affect our health. To resolve this situation, it's better to cook our food ourselves and to control us. For learning how to cook for our current situation can resolve and help us to heal. It's a very good strategy to make a step forward to become more healthy, personally healthy. And different people, they have a different situation. Some person might be affected by milk, other person might be affected by too much bread, other person might be affected by too much rice, another person might be affected by too much vegetable oil in the salads. So there are all these issues with the gut are complex and personal. Everybody has to find out their own personal food that they have been overeating for a long period of time that did create the bacterial overpopulation in their gut and damage their gut. By finding out what actually caused the damage, which type of food, either protein, carbohydrates, oils and fats, or the sugars, by finding out, we understand what's the problem, and then we remove those foods from our diet. And removing them by actually cooking our food ourselves can be much more efficient and much more productive, because we can control our food that we cook to a much higher degree. For example, when we have SiBo and when our gut is bloated and when we have damage in our gut, when our belly starts to create a bump, which is not normal, it's not fat, it's just a bloated gut inside with gas. During these cases, very, very often we develop an allergy to fried vegetable oil, and it just starts to create patches of irritated skin. It starts to create damaged cells in our body, dandruff, red face. Some people get rosacea, pimples, because the fried oil can leak into the gut more easily, and then the bacteria allow it, and the cells, they become kind of allergic to themselves when they have this fried oil in the cell. This is all connected to the excess of one thing that we eat, and one thing that the bacteria starts to love, or the viruses start to just to crave and to ask us for it more of the vegetable oils that are fried, or just of the regular vegetable oils. Some people, they eat 1 liter of olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, per week. So the recommended dose is 50 grams of fat per day by the WHO. And then let's count the dose. It's 1 liter. I don't know how they calculate it, but it's just excess. It's twice the amount of fat that one is recommended to eat. It's 1 liter of olive oil per week. It's just excess. The Mediterranean diet is a very, very misunderstood diet. I can tell you, I lived on the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean diet is not related to olive oil. Olive oil is just a brand that the people sell you. The Mediterranean diet is 80% vegetable in the food. 80%, that's it. It's not even the olive oil, it could be any other type of oil. It doesn't have to be oil at all, but the 80% has to be from plant sources. And the rest is probably fish, because it's around the Mediterranean. It's fish or like the seashells that she sells by the seashore. Our gut is a very delicate surface. Our body is a very delicate surface. We are not robots, we are not machines. We are not these strong animals that can run without stopping for hundreds of kilometers. We are not birds that can fly very strong. We are not tigers nor elephants. We are very sensitive as animals or as humans. And when you have damaged gut, it can have many symptoms. One symptom could be irritation, personal emotional irritation. When the gut is irritated, then the whole mind is irritated. Something is wrong, and the gut tells you something is wrong, I'm irritated. One thing that we develop, food allergies. Our skin becomes red in some parts, dry in other parts. We have more gas. Actually, gas and the bloated belly is the symptom number 1, that it can tell us that we have SiBo or bloating or damaged gut. Another one is that if our poop is liquid and if we cannot digest our food, it just flushes down and that's it. Because some people are so sensitive they cannot eat any food when they have irritated gut or damaged gut or bacterially overpopulated gut. One solution and one strategy for the extreme case of the SiBo, when there is like an extreme irritation, extreme damage, is to eat liquid foods only, so that the food cannot stick to the surface walls of the gut. It will get absorbed a little bit and then it just flushes down and the gut becomes clean, and after a month or 2 months is more or less healed. The great problem of the SiBo, the great issue of the SiBo, is that when the gut is damaged, it starts to absorb less nutrients and less minerals in the body. So it will be less effective during the healing process of the body. It will start to absorb less iron and less magnesium. In this case we come back to the algae that have a lot of iron and magnesium in them. The chlorella, spirulina and the nori one in the form of dry powder. 1 teaspoon on top of regular food, that's it. Maybe dietary supplements that have a little bit of minerals that can help our body to get more of those, because the gut doesn't absorb them when it is damaged. When the gut is repaired, we have to stop taking them, because excess minerals in the body can also create problems in the long term. The psychological effects of the irritated gut are present and very complex. We start to fight with people, we start to be more irritated, more protective. Somebody says something, some comment or critic, and then we start to be offended, we protect ourselves. Some people yell, some people create schizophrenia. The schizophrenia recently was discovered that it is connected to the bad bacteria in the gut. So the schizophrenia is connected to the gut issues. Who would have known that the gut is actually creating schizophrenia? It's like science fiction from the past. The gut issues can be also connected to the autistic behavior. So in case the autistic people, they can have a sensitivity to the milk protein or to the gluten protein. So, and their mothers, they give them like 1 cup of milk and bread with butter, which is another source of milk protein, and honey maybe on top, and they say, oh, okay, here you have your calcium intake for the day, eat it. And then the children, they have seizures once a day. The mother is giving them the food that the advertising told them to give to the children, and then the children suffer from this because they have a gut issue that creates a mental issue for them. So when we have SiBo and when we have irritated, bloated gut, we also have problems with our mental state. We are more irritated, less efficient, we are more tired, maybe we sleep more, maybe we are more depressed, we have these thoughts that are negative. This could be a very strong effect that is connected to the gut. It's not only the physical symptoms on the skin or the pain in the body, it's also the pain in the mind and in the emotions. They can be caused by the issues in our gut, which is not a recent discovery, it's only a recent discovery in the science that is quantitated and proven in studies. In the Chinese medicine, it has been known that some organs, if they're damaged, they create more angers. If one organ is damaged, it creates more shame. If one organ is damaged, it creates more depression or mental issues. If one organ is damaged, it creates more fertility issues. So there have been always this understanding, a natural understanding, and the logical, or let's say the intuition, that if we have some damage, it can have a direct result to our emotional state. And recently the science that is quantifying these statements with real math, real studies, real comparisons to healthy and unhealthy people, was able to quantify that our gut is directly affecting our mental state and how we live. So in case we are able to resolve or improve our digestive and the gut health, to remove the bacterial overgrowth, or maybe just to apply the strategies for the SiBo curation or the healing of the SiBo, if we can apply these strategies, the same strategies, even if we are healthy, we can become a little bit more superhuman, a little bit better in life, which makes this more interesting even for the healthy people who want to be a little bit more productive or more happy in their life. All of those discoveries are fairly recent discoveries in our modern medicine. They are not known for hundreds of years, they're only known for a few years. Some are known for decades. Some people did speculate about this for many years. The Ayurvedic medicine and the Chinese medicine did know about this for a longer time. It's all fairly recent in our collective mental knowledge or collective knowledge of the society. It's good to share experiences about this. If you know anything, if you have your personal experiences in your own life or in the life of the people who are close to you, it's good that you make a comment wherever you find this audio or video or content. It was made for you by episodes.de so that we can all learn and share our experiences about the gut issues, about the SiBo issues, or about the bloating. Make a positive and productive comment, or like the video, like the audio, wherever you find it, so that more people can benefit from it. Let's just have a conversation that we together move forward as a culture and a society, and finally understand what's the most efficient or best strategy for how to survive as a human and still be eating instead of charging ourselves like robots. Because food is very nice, and if we know how to eat well and the strategies for how to eat, the discipline for how to eat, on a smaller plate, which types of foods to avoid, the strategy of how long in the day we should eat and how long of the day we shouldn't eat. All of these things are very important for any human who is living on our planet or on other planets, if there is some humans on other planets. It's not taught in schools. In some countries it is taught in school as part of the biology. We have to learn this and advance together in this process. If we advance in this very basic thing that is food, our digestion and our personal health, then we all advance as a society. Our costs of healthcare will be reduced and people will spend more money on other productive things instead of just spending the money or half of the life of trying to cure our body. Because let's look at it, if we have some kind of irritation or some kind of health problem with our body, that's the reason why you are watching or listening this, because we all have a little bit of an issue with our health, and all of our issues to the health are connected directly to the way that we eat and what we eat, or maybe what we don't eat. It's all interconnected to our food and to our personal behaviors and connections with food. So I hope you like it. Thank you for supporting the creative movements. Make a positive and productive comments that can be beneficial to other people. Have fun and be healthy. Good luck with SiBo.